Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Aaron Williams.
Welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are radio for the local craft beer movement, broadcasting from our flagship studios at AM 920 The Answer in Buckhead, Atlanta. And I'm Aaron Williams.
And I'm Tim Dennis, and it's Thanksgiving weekend,
Yes,
Aaron.
it is. Absolutely.
So we hope everyone's enjoying their turkey day, all the dressings, family and friends, and definitely some great craft beer to go along with it.
Absolutely. And of course, we're also spending this weekend with our friends and family. So in this episode, we'll be bringing you some of the interviews that we enjoyed over the past year.
And just a quick note, we won't have a Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Headlines brought to you by Your Pie Perimeter and some of the other things that we usually have on the show.
That's right. It's a special episode. So let's get right into it now. Earlier this year, we talked to a Huntsville area brewery making some really nice liquid. Blue Pants. Let's hear that interview right now.
We are in the studio this week. We're talking with Mike Spratley, owner of Blue Pants Brewery in Madison, Alabama.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Excellent. Of course, again, like you said, Mike is the owner of Blue Pants Brewery, one of Alabama, Huntsville area's better breweries, I'd have to say. We're big fans of here on the Beer Guys Radio Show, and we're also fans of that you sent us beer, so thank you for doing that.
Speaking of that, Mike, we've just opened your Oktoberfest here, and we're going to pour some of that and pass it around. You want to tell us a little bit about this beer?
Sure. Our Oktoberfest is it's really nice. It's a traditional. Actually, we kind of call it a Vienna style Oktoberfest. It's a little lighter in color than some of the American ones we've seen lately. But we kind of think that a lot of the Germans are going for this lately, and it's kind of evident in Sierra Nevada did a collaboration that's very similar beer, I think, in terms of color and overall character. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, I just noticed this too. It's quite light. Very golden in color compared to most Oktoberfest. Yeah.
Now these German beer and foods and that very popular in Huntsville area, correct?
Yeah. There's a couple good breweries that are. We do a couple great German styles. We do a traditional German Pilsner as well. That we've been told it's the best one outside of Bavaria, but they might be biased. And there's another brewery in town, Yellowhammer, that does a great selection of German beers as well. So definitely popular. I mean, we got some German heritage people south of us in Coleman, so I think there's a lot of popularity for the styles here.
Yeah, this one's nice. It's a little lighter than
it is.
In keeping with the look of it, it's a little crisper, I guess. Maybe a little drier, not quite as much malt sweetness, but very clean, drinkable beer.
Well, thank you. And the other thing we try to avoid is we kind of feel like a lot of the American representations right now have that American caramel malt sweetness to them.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, it can be kind of cloying sometimes if it's overused. So really sticking to the more traditional German-style malts. It's 100% German malts, all from Weyermann. So it's a really rich beer.
Great. Well, Mike, I tell you what, as we enjoy this, to jump right into it here, why don't we start off kind of a basic question we like to ask all guests. What's your backstory? What kind of got you involved in the beer world?
Sure. I used to be an engineer. My wife and I, I'm from Alabama. She's from Michigan. I went to school in Michigan, and we lived in Seattle for a little while, and kind of got hooked on some great beers out there. And then moved back. I actually lived in Atlanta for a little while, went to Georgia Tech, and then we moved to Alabama, and it was before they had the opportunity to brew 6.3% above alcohol beers. It was before the law changed, which was back 2006. So kind of got into home brewing because I couldn't drink an IPA in Alabama, and then it kind of grew from there. I mean, that's basically how I got hooked on beer, and then the business just kind of came naturally as we thought it was a neat idea, and we enjoyed brewing. So.
Now, Mike, when did you guys open up?
It was actually in 2010, but I like to tell people that 2012 was when we started to count. Yeah. We originally started in about 400 square feet, really tiny brew house, nano brewery, about a barrel and a half system, and then we jumped up to 15-barrel brew house in our current space in 2012.
That barrel and a half system, that'll keep you working. That'll keep you going there. So.
A lot of late nights with that one.
Yes.
It was pretty busy. It was also pretty janky. It was engineered from some old wine barrels I got from a winery in Mississippi that had closed down. A lot of electrocution involved in that one while we were trying to work on it. So.
Nice.
The singeing of the hair. That's the best part about it, right? That's funny.
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I really think it's coming along, actually, over the past 6 years or the past 4 years, depending on if you're counting or not. You just recently won a World Beer Cup Award for your Dortmunder Adam beer, and you also won silver at the Great American Beer Fest, too. So people are starting to take notice of what you're doing.
Yeah, I hope so. We've made real strides in improving our quality over the years, and it's always been our major focus. About 2 or 3 years ago, I'm kind of losing track of time at this point. We sent one of our brewers to the Siebel Institute, which is really one of the most prestigious beer academies in the world. He actually did some training over in Germany, and that's where he discovered the Dortmunder Adam beer style that we won a bunch of awards for. That was pretty neat, and I remember him texting me from Germany saying, "We have to brew this. So. So we've continued to make strides and continued to invest in trying to get better and better at brewing beer and trying to do more and more complex beers. We've done some lambics. Not true lambics. We're not in Belgium, but we've done some Alabama lambics, as we call them.
Right. Nice.
We do a lot of kettle souring, which is pretty neat and I think unique to this area. So, we have a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, so one we're very familiar with, I've drank quite a few of them, is your Pinstripe series.
I do like that one, yes.
So we've got, I tried the Pinstripe peanut butter was the first one I was introduced to. I got that at Below the Radar. We were over there for the Rocket City Brew Fest and got that. And so I tried that and the base, and I actually got some of that Alabama Lambic at Bottle Shop there in the Bread IPA, and brought a lot of your beer back actually when I came back. So we've enjoyed it, but we brought some from our stash in here. We got a bottle of the Candy Bar to open up here a little bit later. So really enjoying that. So you said, I know you've done a lot of creative. You talked about, like, I enjoyed your Bread IPA quite a lot. The Alabama Lambic and that. So since you've already done a lot of creativity, what do you see, what's the future for you hold? Where do you want to go with things?
We're not running out of ideas yet. That's for sure. One of the things we're about to do is a dry hop sour. One of the beers I think I sent you guys was actually our double IPA.
Yep.
And, The reason why I sent it is we just went through an entire redesign on it because of some hop availability, and what we started trying to emulate was some of these Northeast IPAs that have become increasingly popular, they're all unfiltered and very, very, very rich and juicy, and so that's what we kind of tried to do when we redesigned it, is to understand that new style and what's going on there. The dry hop sour that I was starting to mention is sort of, we even took that step one step further, and we're using a yeast strain that can produce flavor compounds similar to that Bread IPA, the pineapple-y taste and things like that.
Right.
Sort of against like a Goza style sour or kettle sour to really kind of play with it and have some fun.
So is that the Sac Trois strain that you're using?
It's actually, we use for most of our yeast lately, we're using Imperial Organic Yeast, which is a spinoff out of, I guess, the SWY yeast that used to be one of their technicians. And he started a new group that we've had a lot of great success with. And their strain is it's called dry hop, and the actual yeast used to be classified as a Brettanomyces, but it's not actually Brettanomyces. They kind of thought it was for a long time. And then it's that blended with the Conan yeast. The Conan yeast is the one we use in the Wheaties Double that is kind of the reminiscent yeast of the
I'm getting excited to open this beer, Mike.
I was going to say, you start talking Brett now.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to open this beer.
There you go. So while Tim opens it, got a couple more minutes in this segment, too. So why the name Blue Pants? I got to ask.
It's actually my wife and I. So when I started this business, I was an engineer and she was a teacher. And so I obviously had to have a lot of commitment from her to be able to do this on the side. So I created the Blue Pants name as she's blue and I'm pants, and we kind of went from there. For better or for worse, we for a while we had beers named like Knickerbocker, and Pinstripe is still a holdover from when we were naming things after pants.
The pants theme. There you go.
But we kind of ran out of ideas after a while, to be perfectly honest, and decided we should just name things more straightforward, like hot roasted IPAs. So
there you go.
See, it sounds like I've used that method of naming beers before by just looking at stuff and whatever I see in my garage. And so I ended up with a homebrew named Gas Can Viking Helmet. It was actually one of our most popular beers. It was a what was the style in that, Brian? I forget now. Was it a hef?
Yeah, it was kind of a hef with a lot of biscuit malt, as I recall.
Yeah, so that's right. We were going for a lemon scone beer there.
Yes, originally, yes.
So, yeah, someone joked, it's like you ought to just grab things out of the air, and we named it that and made a little logo for it and stuff. So
like an I Love Lamp IPA.
Yes, exactly. That's it. So
That's it.
We'll be back right after this with more interviews from the past year, and you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Scott from Burnt Hickory Brewery in lovely Kennesaw, Georgia. You're listening to Beer Guys Radio.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep, brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the Beer Guy sent you.
Hey, it's Aaron, and you know what I hate? When I miss a favorite TV show and forget to DVR it. Don't let this tragic tale happen to you when it comes to Beer Guys Radio. Subscribe to us on demand. It is easy. If you've got iTunes, Stitcher, or any other iOS or Android podcast app, search for us, or go to beerguysradio.com, click listen, and you can copy and paste the RSS feed. While you're there, by the way, give us a review. It really helps. That's Beer Guys Radio on demand. Catch it today.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, I'm sure I'd feel much worse if I weren't under such heavy sedation.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com. This is our special Thanksgiving weekend show.
Yeah, that's right. We're breaking format just a little bit, bringing you some of the interviews that we enjoyed over the past year, including this one from Three Taverns Craft Beer out of Decatur. We have got Three Taverns in the house. Brian Purcell, he's the founder, owner, I guess, and general bigwig. Is that your official title?
Depends on what day it is.
Okay, good.
Right.
Of Three Taverns.
Chief cook and bottle washer.
That's right. Three Taverns Craft Brewery.
Correct.
Yes, and you're on von Hinderacker. Yes. Did I get that right? Am I close? Hinderacker. Okay.
See, that's.
I have to get that going on. I can't do that yet.
Yarn and I had a conversation one time about the proper way to pronounce goza.
Yes.
And or goose.
Who's it?
And see, that sounds like who's it? He's like, no, who's that? It's like, okay, let's just drink a beer. I'm close enough there.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on your 3-year anniversary. That's of course got a big celebration coming up here soon, and we'll talk about that too. So,
thanks.
Tell us about the start of Three Taverns. Began with a trip to Belgium, right? Or even before?
The inspiration for Belgian beer began 1994 on a night in Brussels. So that's when I was first introduced to the amazing Trappist beers and all the wonder of the selection of beers in Belgium, and came back to America, and here in Georgia you couldn't get those beers. So that love was dormant for some time. I started home brewing in the early 2000s, and really I brewed a lot of beers, but Belgian beers were the beers I loved to brew the most. They were the beers I thought were the most interesting, maybe most introspective experience when drinking Belgian beers. There's a lot to ponder and consider in the complexity that Belgian yeast gives to beer that's unique to really any beer in the world. And I always found that making a really good Belgian beer to style, or even spinning that style somewhere else, was really hard to do because you can't hide behind the hops when you're making a true Belgian beer. So that was really the beginning of the seed for Belgian brewery, though I didn't know it was going to be a brewery at the time.
I love to brew Belgian styles. I do a lot of saisons for my home brew, and it's fun to see a little different temperature change. A little different this and that with those yeast. What the complexity and the depth you can get out of them. They're just a lot of fun to brew and drink.
That's right. Yeah.
But speaking of beer, we opened one of yours, a Pale, recently. You said it's part of the Hop Project?
The Hop Leaf Project.
The Hop Leaf Project, okay.
It's brand new out of the gate project that we just launched. This was really a project that was inspired by the brewers at Three Taverns. I'd say the team of brewers at Three Taverns. We've had such a good time, or the brewers in particular have had such a good time with the Sour Asylum series that, and it's been easy to do, or how do I say that? It's because we're limiting the series to draft only, and we're only making a small batch each month or each 6 weeks. We've been able to manage that, and we looked at our schedule and thought we could do the same thing with another series of beer and decided, well, what do we want to do? And Joran, maybe you could speak to why did we decide to do a hop-forward series of beers? I'll let the Belgian talk about hoppy beers.
Hoppy beers, exactly. Yeah, that's perfect.
The expert, right?
That's right. That's right.
So what about this one that we're drinking right now, Joran? What's the profile on this one?
So this is basically pale ale. We use Palisades, Galaxy, and Eldorado, both Whirlpool and dry hopping. Bittering is all hop extract that we use. We've been heavily experimenting with hop extract, and we've decided that we're also for like Night on Ponds, we'll go for extract for bittering, because it's just more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the hop project for us is just to play around. I think it came out also when we made the 3-day IPA for Decatur Arts Festival, which was a big hit, and everybody at the brewery really enjoyed it, and so we really wanted to make different hoppy beers, and we have a couple of ideas that we're working on. So
now with this one, will the base beer remain the same and just the hops profile change?
No.
Okay.
This has spelt malt in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, we will change alcohol, we'll change malt bill, we'll change hop profile for sure. I've been looking for some hops, probably some experimental hops that we will use in the future, but also we're looking at some Belgian hop farms to maybe try and experiment with that as well.
Very cool.
So we're talking to Joran Van Hindrachter, the head brewer, and Brian Purcell, the founder of Three Taverns Craft Brewery. I'm going to completely butcher your name, Joran. I apologize the entire time. So,
right.
We talking about the hop-forward beers. Now let's go ahead and talk back to some more of the Belgian styles, too. You say on your website that you kind of style in the Belgian way. What does that mean to you all?
The Belgian way.
Yeah.
Well, for me, and of course it's going to mean something different for Joran because he grew up in Belgium and is steeped in the tradition that is more of a romantic ideal for me. But it just means a real commitment to quality, to experimentation. If you look at the Belgian beers, they were really the early explorers in beers, venturing outside of the lines and using sugar in beer and spices in beer, and then the wild yeast. And the open and spontaneous fermentation. They were doing things that really no one anywhere else in the beer world was doing before anyone else was. So it's really that's woven deeply into the fabric of Three Taverns. We want to continue to experiment, continue to explore. You see that in the Sour Asylum series, even though that's not really Belgian influence, that's German influence, that type of souring, but it's the experimentation and the attention to tradition, but not being rooted or controlled by tradition.
Now, I know, Brian, back, I think, Joran, at the time, you were working on your visa to get over here, actually, and I was talking to Brian, and it was important to you, Brian, to have a Belgian brewer. I remember speaking to you, and you mentioned that you wanted to get Joran over here. So, Joran, what made you decide to come from Belgium to brew in America?
I don't know.
Don't know? Crazy?
Yeah, there you go.
No, I back in 2008, I did an internship in New Belgium, in Fort Collins. Learned a lot there. Had a great time. Definitely in the weekends skiing, riding my bike. I had a lot of
internship. He's skiing,
that's what they
biking,
call it, exactly.
hiking the mountains.
I also helped the guys at New Belgium. I worked on their bread beer filtration, which sometimes was boring, but
that's what interns have to do the boring stuff anyway. Yeah.
So I knew the American beer scene a little bit, I guess. And then on one particular day, I got an email from Brian saying that he's looking for a brewer, and I don't know. I thought about it, and
it was a very compelling email.
You convinced him to come all the way over here. Exactly. Not a lot of skiing here, but still, that's all right.
Now, your uncle's the brewmaster at New Belgium, correct?
Yes, he is.
So Peter Buchart.
Buchart, yeah.
So, yeah, very cool. So, 2 members of the family brewing over here in America. Mm-hmm. So, very cool. Very cool.
Excellent. Well, we're about to take a break. We're going to go. Oh, we actually have a minute left. Sorry. See, Marquise is back behind the board. I don't have a quick grasp of the thing. So
I don't know if we can get this in a minute, but I'm going to bring it up. We can finish it when we get back. Inceptus. So this is, I know the story behind this beer, and we've talked about, kind of the, I know it's not a lambic or that, but kind of in that tradition of the wild and fermentations of that. Can you tell us about Inceptus and kind of, what got you to go for that beer?
Yeah, we actually, the bottle with no label is actually this year's version.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Which no one has had.
That's even better. Okay.
But, so basically Inceptus started off that I was brewing in on a snowy day, and we put some wort outside, and we let that sit overnight, and then put it in, I think it's a 5-gallon oak barrels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And let it go in there.
We'll be right back after this with another great interview. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com.
I'm Josh Rachel. I'm the co-owner and brewmaster at Jekyll Brewing, and you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The Beer Guys are back right after this. The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.
It's Aaron and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock is always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy. They have 12 of them. Bottles, too. Not sure what to drink? All of their beer servers are Cicerone certified. And if you got someone who isn't a beer fan, not to worry. Truck and Tap carries wine, mixed drinks, and even handcrafted sodas.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily. That way, you're getting a different menu every day.
Check it out, Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Hey, it's Aaron. I want to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor. It's HopSpot Beer Tours of Atlanta. Now, there's a lot of tours out there, but what makes HopSpot Beer Tours different? Well, you get exposure. There's more to Atlanta craft beer than just breweries. A HopSpot Beer Tour gives you the who, what, where, and when to craft beer right here in Atlanta and the state. Education. Whether you're a native, a transplant, or a visitor, you'll always learn something new. And connection. HopSpot connects you to guests, local breweries, and businesses to create those lasting relationships. We invite you to check out what makes HopSpot different. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter and Instagram at HopSpotATL, and of course, visit HopSpotBeerTours.com. Use promo code BeerGuys10 and receive 10% off your order. HopSpot Beer Tours. Hop on, get connected. That's HopSpotBeerTours.com.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep, brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the Beer Guys sent you.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Oh, God, here we go again. Dork alert.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. BeerGuysRadio.com is our website, and it is our special Thanksgiving weekend show.
That's right, and we're giving thanks by airing some of our more fun interviews we've had over this last year. So let's get right back into it with our interview with Monday Night Brewing. Jonathan Baker.
Hey.
Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us for sharing beer and good times here. Tell you what, before we get into the hard questions for you, we just cracked open an hours-old Slap Fight IPA. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this beer?
So this is our first canned beer, and we actually, this was the first beer that we developed 100% with our new pilot system, and it's kind of a West Coast style IPA, but with some really kind of dank tropical notes to it. A little bit of papaya. Some dark fruits, very interesting hop bill, Bravo, Comet, Equinox, Mosaic, and it's 5.8%, 58 IBUs. It hits you in the face with the hops. Actually, as we were developing it, we thought we had it, and then we realized, you know what? I think the aroma is not quite there, and the brewers ended up doubling the dry hop.
Well, they did it. That's it. There's definitely the aroma there. But, it's been interesting. We were talking during the break about IPAs and how they've kind of changed or morphed a little bit. They're not necessarily known for their big, piney, grapefruity West Coast classic style anymore. More of this style where it's more, like you said, a little bit more tropical fruity. Get some bitterness in there, but also the aroma as well. So it's been kind of an interesting morph over the years when it comes to IPAs.
Yeah, it has, and it's been interesting for me, first as a drinker, right, but second as a producer, to note the changes in kind of taste, and then in also the hops and the hops available to brewers, to brew. And as you might know, hops are contracted out years in advance, so even if a hop is available, that doesn't necessarily mean that some of these smaller experimental breweries are going to be able to get it immediately, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it even takes the breweries a little bit of time to catch up to what they want to brew.
I know there's some certain strains of hops that they just can't get anymore, so they can't brew certain styles of beers. I know Citra hops are always in way high demand that, they just can't make the beer because there's not enough Citra hops out there.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier for a home brewer because of the volume we're using to get the hops than the craft brewers, or all the time, most of the time.
Absolutely,
so,
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're paying a lot more, but
right, yeah. So, well, Jonathan, this beer, I'm loving it. It's getting rave reviews online. The beer community loves it too. So, I'm sure that this will be one that keeps in good rotation.
Yeah,
thanks for sharing it with us.
Cheers.
So. Speaking of Monday Night Brewing, so you guys have a great backstory. So the startup, I know, I wasn't involved when you guys were starting off, but I have some friends that used to join you for your brew nights and that. But kind of fill people in a little bit on how you guys got started brewing.
Well, first of all, I'm just glad you had friends.
I do. I just friend.
Couple.
I should have made that singular. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, my friend. Yeah.
Singular. Yes.
So I met my two business partners, Jeff and Joel, in a Bible study, and we started meeting on Monday nights to brew beer together socially. So it was a Friday morning Bible study. We'd get together, talk about God, talk about life, and then go about our business. But we didn't really know each other that well. So we started brewing together on Mondays socially to get to know each other. And we all had white-collar day jobs. I was a management consultant, making PowerPoints for a living, which is the dream, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's
cubicles, PowerPoints.
Yeah,
that's good
my
stuff.
1.5-year-old daughter. That's my dream for her. So we were all wearing neckties to work, and we'd come home from work on Mondays, loosen our ties, kind of ceremoniously, right, and then brew beer. And the loosened necktie became the symbol for doing what we want with our lives, doing what we want with our day jobs. And we actually ended up brewing for 5 years every Monday night until we launched our business.
That's pretty solid for 5 years to be able to keep it going, every Monday night like that. So
yeah, I think we missed one because I had ulcers, and then we missed another because it snowed.
Well, there's that. That could be a problem.
But it only snows once every 5 years.
Record.
That's true,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll give you props for that. So yeah. Now, It's interesting. You said that I believe I've heard stories before that you'd get people over, and more people would come, and you'd kind of develop a following on Mondays. And so the phrase "weekends are overrated" is something you guys are known for. Tell us a little bit about that, and how that worked developing your brand.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm a marketing guy, right? But I did very little marketing for this brand. It kind of was the story. Our name is Monday Night Brewing because we brewed on Monday nights, and our whole ethos is we brew beer for weeknight consumption, which means we're brewing beers that pair well with food. We're brewing balanced beers, and we're brewing beers that we're not going to just get slammed on. So weekends are overrated became, the phrase that we used because we were actually looking forward to Mondays, which for us was so odd at the time that we're Sunday night, we're like, oh, I can't wait to brew on Monday. And we realized, oh my gosh, we shouldn't dread our day jobs. Like that should be something, we spend a third of our life there. That should be something that we are excited about.
So you're Monday night brewing because you were brewing on Monday nights then?
You're smart.
Right.
Wow.
So I see why you're not doing management consulting anymore. Then. So what do we call this? Monday night. Oh, genius.
Exactly.
Now, you guys started out before you built your brewery here. You started out as contract brewing.
Yeah,
correct?
we did. Yeah.
So that's because we've talked about it before with some others that sometimes gets hate from the drink local crowd, the contract brewing. But you guys kind of use that to get things going to get your place started here in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's two main benefits. One, it helped us with strengths it helped us accentuate our strengths and complement our weaknesses. So, we were good at finance, marketing, operations. We didn't know how to run a brewery.
Yeah.
We'd never done that before.
So that kind of gives you on-the-job training with the contract situation,
And then just kind of practically, it also allows you to grow the business slowly, which allows us to maintain more control over it financially and then from a just kind of, voting perspective.
How long did you guys do that before building your brewery out?
We contract brewed for about a year and a half.
Okay, cool. Now the tie wall, we talked about the weekends overrated. How'd that get started? Is that a community effort, or is it just you guys getting rid of your ties from the corporate world? Or
every single one of those ties was donated by someone who visited Monday Night Brewing, and actually, I don't think I have any ties on that wall. And they get taken frequently, so we have to keep kind of replenishing
it.
Okay. Yeah. Or you guys throw them all over SweetWater, right?
Allegedly, I mean, actually, if you check our Instagram,
I was going to say, exactly. there is some evidence of that.
We told Nick Knock about that when he was on the show, and he didn't know about the attack on SweetWater, so he said he's going to have to start scheming there. So
I've heard we may or may not have a bug there. I've heard there's some schemes in the works, and I'm heard it could get rough.
Oh man, listen,
good. So
I like that.
We're instigating, by the way.
Yeah,
so that's
I can tell.
We like controversy and conflict. That's us in the radio industry like that kind of thing. So,
thanks again to the crew at Monday Night for taking the time out to talk to us. We'll be back right after this with SweetWater's Nick Knock. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Bob Sandage, owner of the Wrecking Bar Brew Pub. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
Hey, it's Aaron, and you're a fan of craft beer, right? And you want to know more about what's going on in the craft beer scene in Georgia? Thanks to the hard work from my co-host Tim, we are giving you the lowdown on the craft beer scene every week right in your inbox. Go to beerguysradio.com and sign up for This Week in Georgia beer right at the top. We won't spam you, promise, or sell your name. Just good beer info every week. Plus, you can win great prizes from us. This Week in Georgia beer, sign up today. beerguysradio.com.
Morgan and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for a beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep, brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all our beer events and specials, including beer tastings that you won't find anywhere else.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle. Tell them that the Beer Guys sent you.
Hey, this is Aaron. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We've got some really awesome things that are coming soon that will help us engage with you some more. We're not going to lie to you, though. It takes time, effort, and money to produce this show every week. So if you'd like to be part of the Beer Guys family, we would love your help. Head to patreon.com/beerguys to become a sponsor. We're not going to beg. Okay, maybe just a little bit. But hey, we've got some great swag for those who become a sponsor, and you'll be among the first to know about the great things that are coming to the Beer Guys universe. Again, that's patreon.com, Patreon, patreon.com/beerguys, or you can go to beerguysradio.com and click the sponsor link. We thank you for your supports, and cheers.
It's Aaron and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock is always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy. They have 12 of them. Bottles, too. Not sure what to drink? All of their beer servers are Cicerone certified. And if you got someone who isn't a beer fan, not to worry. Truck and Tap carries wine, mixed drinks, and even handcrafted sodas.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily. That way, you're getting a different menu every day.
Check it out, Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com. Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo!
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
And welcome back to this special edition of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next, we're talking to the biggest craft brewery in the Southeast.
SweetWater's head brewer Nick Knock joins us in the studio. Let's get into it. SweetWater.
Yeah.
SweetWater. So SweetWater is one of Georgia's oldest breweries.
Yep.
And it is the largest brewery in the state. They produce more beer every year than the next 10 largest breweries combined. So they're a big player here. Large brewery in the Southeast, and really making a name not just in Georgia. They're known as the Georgia brewery. Come in, it kind of speaks Georgia. It says Atlanta. SweetWater 420 is a beer I think everybody knows. Number one beer served at bars and restaurants around Georgia.
Yeah.
So they're just a big identity here in Georgia.
No, they are. They hold a special place in my heart because that was the first Georgia craft beer I had was a SweetWater 420. I loved it, and again, whenever I see it on the menu, usually I'll go ahead and grab it on there. So it's a lot of fun, and of course, when I travel and talk beer, SweetWater always comes up. They're like, "Oh yeah, you got SweetWater in your state."
It's trustworthy.
It is trustworthy.
If there's
dependable.
no other choices, and a 420 is there, and you know that 420 is going to, because a lot of times it's on tap at places where maybe there's not other craft beer selection.
Yeah,
but you can get you a 420.
Exactly. When I live OTP and I'm living in Gwinnett County, sometimes the beer selection is not the greatest in the world, but I'm pretty much can guarantee that I'll have a 420 on tap, and that makes me happy. So Nick Knock, thank you.
Well, that was all great stuff. Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. No, Nick Knock, of course, brewmaster and the third employee of SweetWater, from what I hear.
Well,
fourth,
depends who
second?
you heard from.
Okay.
Technically, I'm the first employee.
Of course.
I was working under the owners.
I got you. Okay, well,
if you count
sense.
the owners as employees, then...
now, that's going on 20 years now, right?
Yep, I'm about to hit the big 2-0.
All right.
And soon it'll be legal.
There you go. And you've had just enormous growth at this time. Talk to us a little bit about how'd you guys got started? Where did you guys start off from, and where you've been? It's been a crazy journey.
Well, basically, it started with a couple guys that went to school in Colorado, Boulder, University of Colorado at Boulder. And they were out here. Freddie Bench was out here. And he realized that there was no real West Coast style ale. And I don't know if you remember back in '96, but it seemed like all the beers around here were pretty malt-based.
Mm-hmm.
You had, the Purple Haze from Abita. You had Dogwood. You had Marthasville, which was, I think their number one was like a brown ale. Red Brick was around, and theirs was kind of like a Guinness-like brown ale. And so Freddie and Kevin came out here, and they're like, let's open up a brewery. And they, as far as I'm concerned, they pretty much introduced the hops to the Southeast.
It's interesting. Yeah, I never really thought about that. But, yeah, I moved here in about 2000, and besides the 420, it was all brown ales. I mean, that's all it really was locally. You're right.
It was very malty. Yeah, which there's nothing wrong with malty.
No, definitely not.
But, I think they realized that there was a door that was open, and they said, let's go through.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we really introduced the hops, and we're still a big fan of the hops. I mean, we go crazy with our hops on pretty much all of our beers, except for our Georgia Brown. Even our Happy Ending that just won the medal, that's dry hopped.
Nice.
And dry hopping the Imperial Stout I don't think that's run of the mill. That's
it's not. No, that's sometimes I like to cellar my happy endings a little bit before I drink them. Let that fade. That's you know my personal preference. But you know that hoppy stout style is interesting. So, speaking of hoppy beers, I've got one here in my hand that you brought to share with us. The Going Coastal, which we have talked about. We were lucky enough to get a preview there. So, for those that may not know about this beer, Nick, you want to tell them a little bit about it, and I'll open one up for us here.
Sure, definitely. So we do seasonals. Nice, you shot that on my knee.
There you
Real
go.
Cool.
Have some. That's all you get.
There you go.
That's all I get. Great. I'll lick my knee right now. So we knew we needed to come out with something special for the spring, summer, and we were trying to think of something that really represents the spring and summer. So we came up with like tropical. With that, we came up with pineapple. So we really didn't want to go crazy on the pineapple. We still wanted to have an IPA where you still got the hops, you still got the malt, but we made it so that we added pineapple to it. So there's like a little pineapple hint, like a backbone. So it's not overpowering the beer whatsoever. It's still a quality IPA, but you got pineapple in there. It's refreshing. It's very drinkable, and you just want to take it onto a beach.
Yeah, and the one thing I really notice about it is in your label it says an IPA with pineapple.
Yeah, I think that was very important.
Not a pineapple IPA.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Because that's something. Yeah, and that's something you did try to make clear to us. You know, because a lot of these beers that are adding fruit, they're really hitting it heavy. You know, making them sweet and dominate. And so this is more complimentary than the forefront.
There's a lot of beers out there that are like fruit juice.
Right.
You know, and like an adult fruit juice. You know.
Yeah.
And not even like a framboise or anything.
And this is definitely not it. I'm just taking a couple sips. Of course, I've had it before. But again, this is beautiful because you get it on the nose, and then you taste it a little bit on the back end. But this is just a solid IPA regardless. I mean, don't let the pineapple scare you away from this one.
The pineapple seems to flow everything together really. It's really smooth drinking beer, which is really cool.
Definitely, you know, and I'm a fan of all of your IPAs too. You know, the classic IPA you have in the yellow can, which is
old yellow,
exactly. You know, maybe it gets a little bit overlooked sometimes, but I know it's definitely got great dues. And I know Pace Magazine had it as one of their top beers when they reviewed it, even beating out a couple of stalwarts or more maybe buzzword-worthy beers sometimes.
Well, that's a lot of people, you know, in beer, going for the buzzworthy beers is the cool thing for beer geeks. But, you know, I say several times, if you get a fresh SweetWater IPA, it's right up there with the best of them. I mean, it's great. I love going to the brewery and getting it fresh or knowing that what I'm having is fresh. And it's just a fantastic beer. Yeah. So
the cool thing about the IPA, like I said, I think that SweetWater brought the hops to town. I've ran into people that had the IPA 10 years ago, and they live in California or whatever, and then they come back and they say, this is still my favorite IPA. I mean, it's still in the back of their head as a comparison note, that's the best compliment ever.
And you've been playing a little bit with your IPAs, too, using some of the hop hash. You know, you've had the hash session IPAs, which frankly, again, is one of my favorite session IPAs that's out there. You've also, of course, had the regular IPA with the hash out there. Talk to me a little bit about that process and what kind of took you through that.
Well, the hash was really cool. I was sitting down with one of the CEOs of one of the hop brokers in the country, and he was telling me about this hash, which is actually like a byproduct. When the hops go through a pelletizer, it's real sticky and resiny. And ultimately, they would just bag it up and throw it out. And I was like, wait a second, you got the stuff called hash? I was like, and you're throwing it out? Let me give it some of that. So initially, we made one, and we brought it out as a dank tank, and we gave that thing as a test drive during the 420 Fest 3 years ago, I believe. And it was so well received that we went on and we created Hop Hash, which is a double IPA with a bunch of hash. And when you drink it, you can it's almost chewy. Like I mean, you can really feel the hash in there, which is very interesting. I think it puts it in a whole different category of any other double IPA or IPA in general.
Yeah, that Dank Tank release, that was Johnny Hash.
That was
that
Johnny
one, right?
Hash.
So I remember that one, a big one. So speaking of the Dank Tank, so that's kind of your experimental tank, right? Some other beers that came out, BSP Quad, something you did with the Brick Store Pub. I know
that was a great one.
So
yeah,
we tried a vintage bottle of that when we talked to the guys at Brick Store. So
well, we share the same birthday year as Brick Store, so it's kind of special between the two of us. You know, it's like if you do have a cellar when you can cheers to SweetWater, you can cheers to the Brick Store.
There you go. So now, what's some other things that we may see coming out of the Dank Tank in the future?
We got a really cool one coming out. It's going to be a 100% Britannomyces IPA.
Okay.
That's in the works right now, but that's one of those beers where we don't tell it when it's done. It tells us when it's done. So it's not necessarily in the holding pattern, but, you know, we're knocking on its door. Should be coming out next couple months or so.
And with that, you have to wait till Brett kind of does his thing before you can do the dry hops and
Exactly.
all that, right?
Dry hop will probably be one of the very last things.
Yeah, because you're talking months sometimes until the Brett decides it's done with your beer, huh?
Right. And then once we dry hop it, we're going to bottle condition. So that's going to be a couple extra months.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and I had one of the latest ones you had too was the pulled porter with a nice smoky flavor to it. And I know smoked porters can be kind of a different taste for people, but it just tasted like barbecue for me. I really enjoyed that.
Well, it had
too,
bacon in it.
Exactly.
And that came from the Fox brothers, which, guess what? They do barbecue.
Yes, anything that's got barbecue and bacon in it and beer, I'm happy
was
with
there
it.
actual bacon in there? Or essence of bacon?
They smoked the malt with us, or they smoked the malt for us with bacon on the grill.
That wraps up our special Thanksgiving Day episode, but before we sign off, we wanted to give some thanks of our own.
That's right. We've got some great sponsors on the show, including Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Zach and the Truck and Tap crew are our first sponsors, and thanks for believing in us. Also, Jason Jones, Hopspot Beer Tours, a great outfit and a pretty great guy as well.
And we're also giving thanks to our newest sponsor. It's Your Pie Perimeter. Morgan and Lisa are great beer people, and they make some really great pizza.
Definitely. And also, we have supporters on Patreon, our newest ones, Justin Crandall and John Carter. So thanks for your support. And don't forget to head to patreon.com/beerguys if you'd like to support us.
And let's not forget the awesome people who help us out on the show, Becky Klein and Parker Williams. They help us out and make sure the show runs smoothly. Well, as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, they got to keep us in line, so it's usually not a good thing.
It's a tough job.
It is, definitely. Someone's got to do it. And, of course, we'd also like to thank our stations and affiliates, AM 920 The Answer in Atlanta, Biz 1190, and WEKI and WTKI in Huntsville and Decatur, Alabama. And, of course, all the great guests that we've had on the show. Thanks for your generosity and the great conversation.
And finally, but most importantly, we want to thank you. When we had the idea of this show about a year ago, we weren't sure how people would take to it, if anyone would enjoy it, but you all have been amazing in your support and encouragement. We really have a great time doing the show, and we're very thankful to you for listening to us.
I got missed up a little bit, Tim. Sorry, it's getting a little bit, a little misty here.
Someone's cutting onions in here.
It is. It's terrible. No, hey, before we start to mist up and everything, it's time to say goodbye for this week. Coming up next week, we'll be talking stouts and porters. So have a great rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. Enjoy your time with friends and family, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're on demand via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Always online at beerguysradio.com. Aaron and Tim are back next week with more about the amazing world of craft beer. Cheers.